Day 21, I'm reading Reader Come Home by Marian Wolf. Excuse me. Page 88. There is no question that today's children and youth will leave their own version of Walnut Street to discover untold worlds through the internet with all its amazing potential to connect people and ideas from around the globe. But before they do as they do, I want them to be actively building their own uniquely formed internal bases of knowledge that embody what they learn from both books off those shelves and graphic novels by Jean Lauren Young and Mark Danielski. I want them to learn to read and to remember, for this is the foundation for who they will become and how they will think and decide the shape of their future and ours. I have taught hundreds of bright, well-educated undergraduates over the last years. I feel daily uplifted by their intelligence and their desire to contribute something of value to our world. A particular goal of the university where I have done my work. But the reality is that more and more of them are wonderfully adept at programming languages, but have a harder and harder time when I refer to a coat of many colors, the quality of mercy, or the road not taken, and is in New England. The question I must confront in my self-appointed role as reading warrior is whether the carefully built internal platforms are being sufficiently formed in our young before they automatically turn to their default intelligence and look up an unknown name or concept. It is not that I prefer internal to external platforms of knowledge. I want both, but the internal one has to be sufficiently formed before automatic reliance on the external ones takes over. Only in this developmental sequence do I trust that they will know when they do not know. The issue, therefore, is never just about how many words we consume or even how we read in the digital culture. It is about the significant efforts of how much we read upon how we read, and the effects of both upon what we read and remember. It does not end, however, with what we read, but rather continues on as what we read further changes the next link in the chain, how things are written. How things are written. During my graduate courses with Carol and Noam Chomsky, she was a student of Noam Chomsky, my view of language shifted from my former emphasis on the beauty of the word to the study of the word within the structures of language. That shift impressed upon me what my previous study of literature had not, that the varied processes of language, particularly syntax, reflect the convolutions of our thoughts. As the Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky wrote in a remarkable book called Thought and Language, written language not only reflects our most difficult thoughts, it propels them further. Within the context of written language's influence on intellectual development, consider the increasing unease of many English professors in universities and in high school that growing numbers of their students no longer have the patience to read literature from the 19th century and early half of the 20th century. If we think about Herman Melville's Moby Dick and George Eliot's Middlemarch, two of the finest examples of 19th century literature in the English language, the density of the sentences in these books and the cognitive analysis required by the reader to understand them are substantial. One of my favorite sentences in Middlemarch illustrates this as it describes the moment of insight when poor Dorothea discovers the limits of her older husband's assumed genius. on her honeymoon. How was it that in the weeks since her marriage, Dorothea had not distinctively observed but felt with a stifling depression that the large vistas and wide fresh air which she had dreamed of finding in her husband's mind were replaced by anterooms and winding passages seems to lead now hither. There is, to be sure, no shortage of words, phrases, and clauses here. Yet Eliot's dense grammar and the winding structure of the sentence are a near perfect simulation of the aimless meanderings of Mr. Casaubon's mind, which also wandered now whither. What? It is fair to say that a generation of young people raised on the internet and Twitter, simultaneously flooded with volumes of words and accustomed to expending only for 114 characters to write their thoughts, would have a difficult time to appreciating this sentence or reading Melville or Eliot, much less than 115 to 300 plus words in a typical sentence by Proust. Okay, I should stop here. So this is Minky. Please correct me if you can. Thank you.